protesting outside Rail Bhavan in the national capital. Another instance where young India is demanding jobs. This protest comes after the railways have delayed announcing exams to the much-touted 90,000 openings. Over 2 crore aspirants had applied for these jobs.
Today we are looking at students standing outside here protesting against the delay in these examinations and the announcement of the dates.
This thing that they have to sort the forms is absolutely nonsense.
जी मैम उस पर वेबसाइट दिखाया था कि सितंबर में होगा एग्जाम, लेकिन अभी कुछ और नोटिफिकेशन नहीं आई है.
Though Friday's protest was not the first time India's youth has hit the streets demanding jobs. Case in point, the recent protests by students who took the staff selection exams. Students took to the streets alleging corruption. Earlier, students had organized a rail roko in Mumbai over recruitments by the railways. The protests matched by the desperation visible in the sheer number of job applications. 2.5 lakh aspirants for the 90,000 railway jobs. 3 lakh aspirants taking exams for 40,000 constable level jobs in Uttar Pradesh. Yet, the Modi government voted to power on the promise of creating 2 crore jobs, chooses to stick to its narrative of there being enough jobs for everybody. Mirror now asks, if there are enough jobs, where are these jobs? Does the government have a plan to generate employment? Let's debate.
Good evening, you're watching the Urban Debate. I'm Kavita Krishnan. Whichever way you look at it, the numbers are staggering. 1.2 crore people enter the job market every single year. Going by the government's own data, the Ghosh and Ghosh report that was released, which says that 55 lakh new jobs are created every year in India. The CMIE, on the other hand, puts job creation at a modest 12 lakh jobs. Now, both these data sets were heavily contested. But whichever data set you choose to go with, the problem is inescapable. We are just not creating enough jobs. As children, while growing up, we were told, "Padhoge, likhoge, banoge nawab." The message was clear. You work hard at your books, you land a good job, and you're set for life. The question is, can we say the same to our children today? Or will they too join those students who are already protesting on the streets out there? And that is a question we are asking of our guests today. And if we have solutions to the huge crisis that is staring us in our face. Joining us is Madhurima Kundu. She is a Vice President with Delhi ISA and she is from the Rozgar Mange India platform. Sudhanya Pal, also a student from Rozgar Mange India. Bhaskar Bose, spokesperson of the BJP. Brijesh Kalapa, spokesperson of the Congress. Professor Arun Kumar is a senior economist. Also joining us is Rahul Singh, who is a policy analyst. But I would like to begin with the 2 young students who are joining us today. The 2 young students are on our panel. Madhurima first and then Sudhanya. Madhurima, tell us this. Why would you start something called Rozgar Mange India? In fact, the very organization that you have begun, that you're a part of, highlights the problem that we're discussing today.
Yeah, exactly. See, the necessity of Rozgar Mange India, we felt it from the huge SSC movement which started in Delhi when in the CGL Tier 2 exams, massive corruption came into the public. There were paper leaks. Students had worked hard in staying in places like Gandhi Vihar, Mukherjee Nagar across Delhi in cramped and small rooms for years, and still they cannot get into crack these exams just for one reason, because they do not have the money to buy the leaked papers. And that is the reason we started Rozgar Mange India. Also, if we see the trend of the present government in providing employment, so this government came to power in 2014, ensuring 2 crore jobs every year. which is just not happening. Over the years, over the last 4 years, we have seen that the jobs have decreased in absolute numbers. We are not here even talking about the job growth rate, that has like definitely declined. But in absolute numbers, for the first time after independence, number of jobs has decreased, which was the main reason for us starting Rozgar Mange India to take up the issue of employment. The youth today is unemployment, and in every sector, from the private to the government sector, from banks to teaching jobs, there are just no jobs for the youth.
Sudhanya, give us a sense of how dire the situation is. How many of your friends, if we were to take a head count of say 10 friends of yours, how many of your friends who've graduated with you have jobs, got jobs within the first year of graduation? How many are still looking for jobs, and what kind of jobs are they getting?
Say technically, if you ask me honestly, like I completed my masters this year, but technically none of my friend has got a job till now, and as you know that there is also not enough seats in higher education, so everybody is sitting unemployed, running here and there for jobs. And it's also true that we the students, we are studying, as you started your program with, that we will say like you study, you get a good job and get a good life. But what happens here, only my friends who studied engineering in private colleges with giving huge money, they are only employed, but I won't say that they get proper money that they work for 10 hours and at the end of the day they get like 30,000 or 35,000. I won't call it a dignified job with proper salary. So this is the present condition, and the students who are in humanities, who are in science, they are getting no jobs. Like the science people, their situations are worse. Like they have to do a postdoc in order to get a job. Let me give you an example. Like in Tamil Nadu, there was a survey in February where there were like seats for supervisors and stenographer and typewriters, and 15,000 MPhil students, like students who have completed MPhil, they applied for it, and like 1,000 PhD scholars applied for it. This is the present condition of the country. So here we are.
Right, Professor Arun Kumar, we have a situation where 2.5 crore people apply for 90,000 railway jobs, and these two, these are, we are not really talking the high-end jobs, these are entry-level jobs. We have students getting together, forming an organization called Rozgar Mange India. Can we afford to ignore the problem anymore?
Yes. No, certainly we can't ignore the problem. It's a very acute problem. But one thing we must appreciate is that in India, because we don't have social security, the young people can't say that we will not do a job and we'll die. So in other words, what happens is that people are forced into very menial kind of jobs. As you said, for 90,000 jobs, you have 2.37 crore people applying, including very well-trained people from MBA, etc. But what's happening is that the people get degrees and then they are forced to do rickshaw work, or they're doing handcart work, or they're doing some work in a dhaba or something like that. It's not appropriate to what they get. So the quality of jobs is very, very poor. The second point is that technology has become a very big disruptor in our society, but that's also globally true. For instance, you have automation everywhere, and in the organized sector especially, where 80% of the investment is going, there's heavy automation. So whether it be banking, or whether it be railways, or it be other private sector organizations, you have very few jobs coming up. And that's why out of the 1.2 crore people who are coming to the job market, hardly 3 to 4 lakh people get the organized sector job. Others are forced into the unorganized sector job, which I call residual jobs. These residual jobs have very poor quality, and that's why the students are complaining that their friends who graduate are getting jobs which are of very poor quality. They don't have salaries, etc. So I've seen people who are working as couriers, who have done BAs, or drivers who are BAs and so on, but they can't get a proper job, so therefore they have to do these kind of jobs. Now the government is saying that under the Mudra scheme we have created a lot of jobs, and the EPFO registration is taking place, and that's an indication of job creation. But my argument is that EPFO only is the way of counting the jobs. People who are earlier in the unorganized sector are getting counted as the organized sector jobs because the definition was changed. Earlier you had to count people in the EPFO who were where there were 20 or more employees. That definition was changed to 10 or more employees. So everybody who was employing between 10 and 20, they also came under EPFO, and therefore the numbers went up.
So
the second thing is government gave
Arun Kumar, that's an important point you're making over here. Now that, in fact, that is at the heart of the job debate. Are you then saying that the government is guilty over here of window dressing, essentially showcasing EPFO numbers, showcasing the growth in EPFO numbers as growth in new jobs or growth in jobs that have been generated in the economy? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes, so they're saying two things. One is that there are new jobs, and these jobs are in the organized sector. So in other words, what they're doing is that they're window dressing in two specific ways. But what I'm arguing is that the EPFO registration is only a way of counting the already employed, but not necessarily new employment. And saying that they are now organized sector is also not quite good because they are still in contract and they're getting very low salaries. So both ways there's a window dressing going on.
Right. Rahul Singh, do you concur with that? Do you agree there is window dressing and we are not really being shown the real picture?
So there are two arguments here. One is there is always a possibility of window dressing when we are talking about statistics, right? So nobody can claim in the world that window dressing is not done by statistics, whether it is government or corporate organizations or academia itself. The second is that let's look at the data. We are talking, we base our intentions and conclusions primarily on the formal sector. Informal sector data is still to come. It takes time. And we are talking about an economy which is roughly covering 10% of the overall economy. So let's not build up our perception. I understand there is a problem, including in the formal economy. What the students are saying is right. But also look at the quality of students we are producing through the academic institutions and research institutions. If you look at the NASSCOM report, NASSCOM, they are credible institutions of India. They have contributed a lot in creating corporate India. They say 85% engineers produced by Indian institutions are not employable. Now, if you are having these kind of numbers, I have no doubt why 90,000 posts would not invite 2 crores applications. So it's not only the demand-supply matchmaking process. The problem is deep-rooted. Include the challenges on the policy side, government side, demand side, and supply side. So while you are talking about, I will make one or two comments, then I stop here for the others. Well, we have problems of job. Also look at given by IMF on whose recommendations actually in 91 we went for privatization. Knows about. It's very clear that there is no possibility of jobless growth. So if India is close to 7% in few, it cannot happen without creating jobs. So they are very clear in their assumptions, and it is augmented by statements. Jobs are being created. We have ignored manufacturing for which usually for, and that's our problem. We have to increase manufacturing. The sector is high fluctuating. If something happens in US and Europe, you take it by %.
Right.
So service sector is not that dependent the way manufacturing can be. I stop here.
Right, Rahul, that you spoke, but for a lay person, numbers really tend to go rather than what the footage that was running on the screen right now. Students who should be in college, in university, students who should be in their first job, instead on the streets, they are protesting, they are demanding jobs, and that is the biggest proof of the fact that we are staring at a jobs crisis. Brijesh Kalapa, seeing on the screen, and also the other point that Arun Kumar made about the fact that the quality of fact that the quality of jobs that are being generated are also very poor?
In fact, I'll answer that first. And Professor Arun Kumar's point is, I think, the most valid one, that today we have a number of residual jobs. And honestly, the Honorable Prime Minister of India also spoke about creation of such residual jobs. He spoke about creating pakodawalas, and his Chief Minister in Tripura spoke about having panwalas. So this is a kind of residual jobs that the Honorable Prime Minister has and his cabinet colleagues have. In fact, the governor of Madhya Pradesh also spoke about the same thing. Mr. Amit Shah spoke about the same thing. So effectively, when you have offered and when you have told the people that you're going to provide 2 crore jobs annually, because that will kind of meet the number of graduates who are coming out of universities, today you have something like 12 lakh jobs for about nearly 3 crore pass outs every year. So this is an alarming situation. And on the other hand, how are you employing the youth? You are employing them by having love jihad gangs, people who go and beat up couples who are sitting in parks, people who go and beat up those who are taking cattle home. So this is the kind of model the government has. See, the ideal thing is that if the economy has to do well, it has to do well on the basis of the twin engines. That is, private investment and 2, government spending. Today there is no private investment. Therefore, it's only government spending which is leading the entire way. So this is wholly insufficient. So therefore, you have jobs in the railways. But where are the private jobs? 1. And 2, somebody just pointed out that, look, the people who are coming out are unemployable. So if you have a Skill India mission, what has that Skill India mission been doing for the last 4 years? You can't still be saying the same thing, that look, the number of people who are coming out are not employable. So the Skill India mission should have taken care of that. The Make in India mission should have taken care of that. Ultimately, what has happened is that it seems to be a comprehensive failure of all the policies put together of Modi Sarkar. And today we have a huge jobless market and not even growth, because ultimately you realize that the GDP growth which has been projected is only because there is a change in the calculation as soon as Mr. Modi assumed office, because GDP which was calculated earlier was calculated in a totally different way, and once Mr. Modi assumed office, he reworked the calculation and got a higher GDP. So yeah, it ultimately seems to be an absolute exercise in window dressing and nothing more.
Right. Let's go across to the BJP spokesperson now. He's sat by and patiently listened to all of you talk. Mr. Bhaskar Bose, what do you have to say to the points put forth by the panel that this is actually in fact window dressing of data? We are not seeing that many jobs being created. The jobs that are being created are low on quality.
Thank you very much, and I'm the first time coming in Mirrors now, and thanks personally for giving me chances, and also giving me chances to rectify. My name is Bhaskar Ghosh.
I'm sorry.
The fact remains that, yeah, it's okay. The fact remains that my colleagues, the other panelist, is trying to project from one window, from one angle, about the growth rates and other figures. Let me put you into from another quarters that it is not that gloomy out the way it's been projected. Though I appreciate those frustration of those aspirants who are just in front of the railway Bhavan, they are showing the protest. But let me give you a couple of more statistics. There is an organization called Nikki India Service Business Activity Index. They have shown that our service sector hiring has improved from 47.8% February to 50.3% in March. There is a Nikki India report, and which is the PMI output increase from 49.7 in February to 50.8 in March. And output growth in manufacturing has outperformed the service sectors. If you come to that report of the EPFO, I can see that there is a big hashtag that 15 million jobs have been created in 2017. And if I further break up into different age group, then for last 6 months, the period between September 17 to February 18, the total net addition to 18 to 21 age group, which are the college students, basically the college going students, was 1.1 million. In 22 and 25 age group, the net addition was 0.8 million. So even after allowing in 20% of the job hopping, the EPFO data, which all of my panelists are questioning, suggested that 2017 about 3 million jobs have been added in 15 to 24 age groups. Now, these are the figures, and rightly
Mr.
told
Ghosh,
the
if
figures.
3 million
If I
jobs,
even some
Mr. Ghosh, if 3 million jobs have been
I would
added,
like to pitch in here the
Right. Come
figure that has been given by him. The unemployment
No, let me
rate
finish.
has
Let me
actually
finish.
increased.
Let me finish.
So your figure
Let me
doesn't stand
finish.
anywhere. The unemployment rate in 2017 was 4.7%, and it is right now it stands at 6%. So when the number of unemployment has increased, there may be some jobs here and there, but overall there has been huge layoffs. You're talking about the service
No,
sector.
that's what I'm telling. Let me come to a very,
in the
very,
past 2 years in
let
the
me-
service sector.
let me come to a very, no, but let me come to a very,
Madhurima,
very basic fact.
let
If you
Bhaskar
talk about the
speak. Yeah.
economic
Give him a
condition.
chance to speak. Yes, Bhaskar, go on.
Yeah, exactly. Now that is one data which I presented about this growth and the job creation. But how this job have been created? I want to substantiate my logics by giving some collateral datas. Like if I talk about UP and NDA regime, then the wholesale price index was 5.2,
No,
whereas
no,
1.7
Mr. Ghosh,
in NDA.
Mr. Ghosh, unless you have
consumer
data
price
about
index.
jobs, let's not
No,
get
I'm
into
coming to the point.
WPI and
Just give me half a
CPI.
second.
Mr. Ghosh,
Give me half
I
a
understand
second.
there
Give
is
me
a
half a
connection.
second.
I understand there is a relation to GDP growth. I understand.
Give me half a second.
All of that. No,
Because-
no. Tell me this. You told us right
Exactly.
now that
Your
about
tax
3.
collection.
One second.
What I
One
mean to
second.
say, what I mean
Mr.
to say,
Ghosh,
the job
I want to
creation-
draw your attention to the footage that we are running
Yeah.
on our screen. Tell me the claim that you're making right now on primetime television of having created 3 million jobs. How does that answer what you're seeing on screen right now? And this is not the first protest of its kind, mind you. There have been other protests like this. Aspirants who gave the Staff Selection Commission exams
That's
were
what I'm telling you.
sitting
The
on the
protest-
streets for
the
over a
protest
month.
is not to,
There was another round where
Ma'am,
students
the protest
went on a
is
rail
not for
roko
getting the
Andolan in
jobs.
Mumbai.
the protest.
The protests
No, no,
are because they don't have a job.
The protest is not to attain,
Even there is a huge
not to
secret in
attain that
UPSC.
particular
40%
exam
of
on
the
the time
UPSC
which has
seats
been
have been
promised.
cut.
See, this is what you have promised. The BJP has promised. The BJP-led government brought out 90,000 vacancies in the month of February, and it said that by the end of May the exams will be conducted. 2.5 crore applicants have filled the forms, and still now there have been no exam date, no official notification. And what you are doing, what the BJP is doing is
don't give us that.
fake
Don't
news
give us
and
that. If you
sites.
need lot of
Putting the
people,
fake news that
if you
there are
need
exams,
lot of
and that
people,
is why we
Bhaskar
are
Ghosh, let me
protesting.
tell you one thing.
There are no jobs.
If you need, there is no
the
shortage of
government has
people in
actually
India.
decreased the number
You
of
could have
jobs.
hired those people first. Let me bring in Arun Kumar.
No, but
Bhaskar Ghosh will
you
give
need
you
to
some
give 2
time
months of time
to
in order
explain
to
this
scrutinize
footage to
those
us.
applications.
No,
Because
Bhaskar
they're
Ghosh.
going on. We have no short of people.
Bhaskar Ghosh, we will give you some time to
But
take a
are
look
we
at
not
that footage
diverting
again.
from the
I'll ask
main-
my producer
from
to
the
run
main-
it on the
from the-
screen so you can see that footage and you can explain to
The
us what exactly you're seeing over there. I'm going across to Arun Kumar right now. I'll come back to you.
I can understand. I can understand.
In the
There is a lot of
railways,
grievances
itself
are
in the
there,
railways,
and they want to
11,000
sit in the
vacancies
exam.
have been-
But
have
this is
been,
not
just
against
removed.
the.
So you
This
have
is not
already
against
removed
unemployment. This
11,000
is
posts, and
for
how can you say that
sitting
there
in the
have been
exam
jobs
on the
created?
on the
Where are
time
you
which has
fudging
been
the data
promised.
Mr.
from?
Ghosh, you give an exam to get a job. You give an exam to get a job.
No,
The end-
this is not fudging the data. My FDI has increased, my growth rate has increased,
Mr.
my
Ghosh.
government spending has increased.
Right, let me
my
bring in
all
let
other
me bring
associated
in let me
factors
bring
has
in Professor
increased,
Arun
and
Kumar.
that is why the
Professor
job
Arun
has
Kumar.
increased.
If we talk about government
And
data,
you can see
Madhurima,
from the-
Madhurima, this is not that kind of debate where you cut across Madhurima, Madhurima and Bhaskar Ghosh. I request both of you all to maintain some kind of decorum. This is not the kind of debate where you all shout over each other. We are discussing something very, very grave over here. So let's maintain some decorum and allow people to talk. Professor Arun Kumar wants to come in. Professor Kumar.
Yeah, yeah. You know, what I wanted to say was that the economy in the last 18 months has experienced two big shocks. First, the demonetization and then the GST. Now, both of them damage the unorganized sector, and the unorganized sector is what employs 93% of the workforce and produces 45% of the output. So, in other words, it is this unorganized sector that actually has shrunk because of both these things. Now, the data for the unorganized sector comes out with a time lag of 3 to 5 years. So, therefore, the government's projections are based only on the organized sector, and the quarterly estimates are given only on the basis of the corporate sector. Now, the corporate sector doesn't fully represent the unorganized sector, and that doesn't represent the unorganized sector at all. So the government data is not telling us what is happening in the unorganized sector. Now, one indication that the unorganized sector is in trouble is that the demand for work in the Manrega schemes has increased dramatically. Soon after demonetization, the demand increased by a factor of 10, and even now the Manrega spending is much more than what used to be there earlier. So that's an indication. Now, there are other indications also that in the, for instance, traders are protesting, youth is protesting, the farmers are protesting because the jobs are not there. If you do a survey in the rural areas, 40% of the people in farming are saying, we want to quit farming because it's not profitable. Now, why is that happening? Because the demand from the unorganized sector has declined, and that's why the farm prices have dropped, and when the farm prices drop, the incomes drop, and there's a loss making. So in other words, there's a lot of evidence, indirect evidence, because direct evidence has not been collected by the government, that the unorganized sector, where 93% of the workforce is actually hurting. Second is that if you look at the educational institutions, there are almost 40% vacancies for teaching positions because we are not getting people, we are not recruiting people into the education institutions. So there's a lot of problems that are coming up as far as employment is concerned in the unorganized sector as well as in the organized sector.
Professor Kumar, explain one more trend to us, one more very worrying trend that we are seeing, and that is Yes, Bhaskar Ghosh, I'm coming to you. I'll come to you right after this. A very worrying trend where we are seeing highly qualified people applying for entry-level government jobs. We saw this with the railway recruitment. We saw this in Tamil Nadu. So, explain to us why this is happening.
Yes. This is happening because the job creation in the organized sector is almost zero. There are very few jobs there because, as was said earlier, the private sector investment is very tardy. It has fallen. It had peaked in 2008-9 at 38%. It's come down to 32%. Private sector investment is tardy because the NPAs are very high. So infrastructure is not expanding. Government is unable to compensate for that. So job creation in the infrastructure, job creation in the organized sector, that is very weak because the investment is down. Now, when that is weak, then the qualified people who are coming out in millions, like engineers, MBAs, MTechs, BTechs, MCom, BCom, they are forced to apply for peons job, for jobs of scavengers, for jobs of very low level, very low skilled jobs in the railways. So lack of jobs in the organized sector because of automation and lack of investment is forcing the well-trained people to go into these kind of menial jobs.
Right. I believe let's give Bhaskar Ghosh a chance to speak, and then we'll go across to Arun Kumar. To Rahul Singh also, who wants to come in.
I'm taking.
Yes, Bhaskar Ghosh, go on.
Yeah, I'm taking Professor's call on two notes. Yeah. First of all, if the demonetization has really affected so badly what he's mentioned, which is not, because the country was going 90% on cash basis. Now, if you go on published datas, then my income taxable income has grown from UPA regime of 1.7 lakh crore to 4.06 lakh crore, 139% growth. My tax collection has gone up from 8.16 crore to 12.27 lakh crores, almost 50%. My industrial growth has marginally go up from 4.2 to 4.5. My cars sold is 25.30 lakhs to 30.46 lakhs. What I mean to say, when your agri growth has gone from 4.01 to 4.83, all this growth is not out of the boon, is not out of the blue. All the growth is substantiating. There is increase in income, increase in your tax collection, and because of that is all of a cycle. Because of that, the government spending is going to increase, and cars sold means there is an automatic, the increment in the automotive sector, also in the manufacturing sector.
That could also
So if
mean,
you
that could
have
also be a
growth
function of
in
cheap
all
credit.
out growth from 360
Bhaskar Ghosh,
degrees.
that could also be a function of cheap credit, and we also know that those days of low interest
but
rates are now
that is
almost
a fiscal-
over. We have two
that is
callers
a-
on the line.
Ma'am,
We have two
that is a
callers.
fiscal policy.
No, wait.
That's
We have
a
two
fiscal
callers on the
policy.
line. We have
But if
Major
you talk
Gurdeep
about-
Samra
ma'am,
from
you talk
Ludhiana.
about the
Bhaskar
production
Ghosh.
part of it. Who
Bhaskar
will produce?
Ghosh.
The robot is not producing. The
Bhaskar
human being
Ghosh,
is
these are your
producing.
voters who are calling. Let them have get in a word as well. Major Gurdeep Samra, go on.
I have only a few things to say about this issue. Even if you open a sweeper's job today, hello?
Yes, go on. We are listening.
Even if you open a sweeper's job today, MA pass will apply for it. Blessed are those who have government jobs. In the private sector, it is ruining hell. It is hell there. People don't have jobs. People don't have work because small industry is simply vanished. Why are we calculating only cars being sold? Because the loan is so cheap, the loan is so easy. And car selling, it does not show an indication that the poor are not suffering. The poor don't buy car. What is he talking about cars being sold? Look at the rural economy. Look at your manufacturing sector. Look at your reality state. Everything is in disarray.
Right.
Kindly.
Right.
Don't sell us please lies anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony is on the phone line from Goa. Anthony, go on.
Yeah. See, this government, when came into power, only BJP government, right from its very inception, they have been fooling us. Mr. Modi said, 15 lakh dega sabke account. He told everyone to open an account. People have opened an account, nothing. Then that Amit Shah, he said, this is all jumla.
No. Do you have anything to contribute to the discussion? Is there any point that you want to make?
See, there are no jobs. They are dreaming of 2019. They want to win that election. Now, see, center has failed on all counts. They are providing us, they said, chai wala jobs, pakad wala jobs, pan wala jobs. These are jobs for these children who have got degrees and MBAs.
Right. Let me go across to Brijesh Kalapa. Brijesh Kalapa, what do you have to say? We've had a lot of data thrown in this discussion, but frankly, nothing as yet has managed to convince me that the situation is not so dire.
No, I think, it's not the time to give you all kinds of statistics and figures. I think the situation is very visible to anybody who goes out into the job market. And when the job market is, when the number of aspirants are growing and there are lesser and lesser jobs, it means that there is something seriously wrong with the economy. And like I said earlier, that the two twin engines which need to take the economy are one, private investment, and the second is the private investment, as Professor Arun Kumar has rightly pointed out, which Dr. Manmohan Singh spoke about, which I think John Maynard Keynes spoke about after demonetization. Because those businessmen who had courage and invest on their businesses have no longer have that kind of courage or certainty that their businesses would do. All this kind of uncertainty where so much of cash you have and you without warning, and this is an attack by the government on the unorganized sector. The government decides to take on its own people and then seizes all the cash available, and said, he rightly said that of course the idea is to be digital. Of course the idea to have a cashless economy, but you can't do it on a day. You can't take out a child because you're very eager to see it within a month. It has to do its full 9 months, and only then can the child come out. So I think this government has totally failed in having first introduced this demonetization.
No, but I have to ask a question. Who was responsible for this cash who was responsible for the cash outburst.
Okay,
because of
Bhaskar
the
Ghosh,
huge
let's take
corruption
from the
regime.
top economy and black money over here. We are talking. We are talking. No, we are talking only about jobs. Discussing cash here. Let's not go there.
Lost at the time of demonetization.
Even if we want,
Monetization,
even if he wants to discuss,
2.6 crore
Let's
jobs
Even if he
were
wants
lost
to
at the
discuss
listen to
time
black
of
Sudhanya.
money,
Sudhanya,
even if he wants,
point to make. Let's not get into discussing other topics. Into discussing other topics, other issues.
There is no private investments.
1.26 crore jobs were lost at the time of demonetization. And our economy has still suffering from it. And this government is just trying to contractual jobs, are just ending all the permanent posts. As I said, that railway has cut posts. Know that delay in rail, ill maintenance of rail, everybody faces in India, and there are various posts which are as noble. So we expect, sir, the Bhaskar Ghosh, like the and J, other universities of the country. What will we do? Will we polish boots of the Brahminical leaders or do manual scavenging?
Right, and we're back to discussing quality of job. Discussing quality of job problem over here. Also, the kind of jobs that I can. I'll come. Bhaskar, I know that Rahul Singh has been raising his hand for a long time. Rahul,
This is a very this is extremely meaning, and I mean, for the moral value, it is a very low moral value to have this kind of statement in this very statement in this very.
Can we let Rahul Singh make a point over here? Sudhanya, you got your chance. Let Rahul Singh talk. Rahul Singh, go on.
Yeah, I think and we should accept there is a problem. We should accept that job creation is a problem. Our young people are not getting employment. Does not mean that it never existed, and this is the only government. Congress, not PM, not SPM, not CPI. I'm India. We have to recognize if there is a problem, we have to look for a solution. Why I'm trying to make this kind of statement is compare what happened in UP a few years back when Akhilesh Yadav came up with an advertisement to recruit 400 people, which is at peon level, and almost 15 lakh applications came in. A lot of 2018 or 2017, it is there from last 10 years, number one. Number two, when you don't have job, do not talk about decent job. You know, we shouldn't get into the language of United Nations decent work agenda. Our first priority is to create jobs so that everyone gets something. And second priority should be that we increase the level of income so that we have a better quality life. Third, please do not forget that we are not going to depend only on the government system. The data that is being discussed here is primarily only the government system recruitment. I think Professor Arun Kumar indicated that we should look for open market, which is the corporate sector, and the informal sector too. 90,000 application came for government. Look at the education, which is one of the biggest employer in the country. It's 2 hours job in the rural areas, and you get 60,000 rupees per month. Who is not interested to go for teaching assignments in the villages in these poor schools? And you see, you know, the result of the quality of education system we have. My argument is, don't politicize it only for 1 hour, you know, to the extent where we don't have any direction after 1 hour. This is a macro level problem, and we must give sympathy to the issue and not the politicization of this. Thank you.
You know, point well made, and Bhaskar Ghosh, I think...
So the issue is already really politicized, sir.
Right.
We are not going to be the semi-skilled labor in the foreign MNCs.
I think Rahul Singh had a very good point over here. The fact that the first step over here is accepting that there is a problem as far as jobs are concerned. Bhaskar Ghosh, is the government of the day willing to accept that there is a job crisis in the country? And if yes, what are you doing? What are you doing to arrest that? What are you doing to solve that issue?
See, if you talk about the macro economic status of this country, then and at the same time, what I'm talking about is 15 million jobs created in India in 2017. I do understand one thing I accept, that is a huge country with a 130 crore population, 1.3 billion populations, and the largest youth percentage of the world, or youth population of the world. But at the same time, what if whenever we got this the political we can say the political responsibility from the last government, where the GDP was as low as 4.1%, and therefrom we have taken a lot of radical measures which is now going to give results. If you see the 16-17 data,
let him kindly explain if it's on the reworked basis or on the unreworked basis.
No, I have already explained. Why is that all the indexes,
why is Mr. Ghosh making a fool of himself on national television? There are economists on this panel. Then let him kindly give the figures which are correct. Where is the point of making a fool of himself on national television?
You know, Mr. Ghosh, I would rather that you stop talking in numbers and start talking in words. Mr. Ghosh, I would rather that you stop talking in numbers and start talking in words. Look at the footage that we are running on the screen. This is from this morning. You have been throwing numbers at us ever since this debate started, but you have not managed to convince us that there are jobs. The problem is in your face. There is a problem. That is why these students are on the streets. Now, do you have a solution?
It is not my number. It is numbers.
Do not give me numbers. Do you have a solution? Mr. Ghosh, we've had enough of numbers.
That's what I'm about to finish. That now,
giving high growth rate figures does not mean that jobs are being created. It has been established time and again in different reports over several years.
Let's not discuss what has happened. This is the problem. It is in your face. It is right now. Tell me how you're going to solve it. Does the government have a plan?
What has happened? I'm discussing what is happening.
Tell me how you're going to solve this problem.
I'm telling, that is why.
What is happening is that there are no jobs. The job market has shrunk.
The numbers in support of the government.
The number of jobs in absolute numbers have declined, and that is what is happening since 2014. So so one thing is that there is no jobs. If 93% of the informal sector, the data there is the data comes late. But if we see the quality of jobs in that sector, and we definitely need to see into the quality of jobs.
No, Madhurima, let's not go into numbers again.
Madhurima, doing 12 hours, 16 hours of labor.
Madhurima,
please let me make a point. What we mean by jobs,
ma'am, I want to ask you one
let's not devolve into numbers again. I don't want you all to derail this argument. Mr. Ghosh, do you have a solution to the problem? Madhurima, will you let him speak?
These numbers are wrong.
Madhurima, will you let him speak? I am done with discussing numbers on this debate. Mr. Ghosh, do you have a solution? Does your government have a solution to this problem?
I am not taking help of numbers anymore. I am talking about the logics. I am talking about the logics when a country is heading to 7.5% of the GDP, when the countries all, I am talking in totality, all indexes is going up on the upswing. How you are talking that job without creation of the job? There is a government investment in all segments, from port, from infrastructure to rail. If you see the budget 2018,
very good. Hold on to that point, Bhaskar Ghosh. I will ask Professor Arun Kumar to rebut on that. Bhaskar Ghosh, I'll ask Professor Arun Kumar to rebut on that, but first we have a caller on the line. We have Professor Asha on the phone from Sion in Mumbai.
Professor Arun Kumar that when all my spending is
Bhaskar
increasing.
Ghosh, we have a viewer who's called in from Mumbai. Professor Asha is on the phone line.
When all my spending is increasing, how that is possible without job creation?
Good evening. Thank you for this very important topic being debated. Number one, earlier one of the panelists.
Right, Professor Asha, go on.
Yeah. Good evening. Thank you for bringing me here. One point earlier, one of the panelists had said there is no the graduates who come out are educated, unemployed. They are not employable. My straight question is, whose responsibility is that who will make them employable? Is there Ministry of HRD or UGC doing anything to see that curriculum becomes like very relevant or the skill development is happening? Secondly, I'm very shocked to hear when a gentleman, an analyst says that for 2 years, 2 hours teaching job, you get 60,000. I would go on record, would like to know that where is the 60,000 and who is getting paid for 2 hours.
All of us will go for that job.
I have been teaching for 43 years and this is utterly nonsense. This is not on the ground reality. In teaching also there are so many conditions and upgradation, like you have PhD to be made compulsory, etc. So at least do not tell lies on the television. Okay.
Right. Professor Asha, very quick question to you. Which college are you teaching in, and how easy or difficult has it been for your students to get jobs?
I retired as the head of the Department of Economics from SIS College of Arts, Science and Commerce, affiliated to Mumbai University. I continue teaching as a visiting faculty in about 5 different colleges, and this is not true at all that you get for 2 hours teaching 60,000.
I would like to answer.
No, I'm talking about jobs. How easy or difficult is it for your students to get jobs, ma'am?
Absolutely difficult. I have my MBA students who've done engineering and MBA together, and they are working for 8 to 10,000 rupees or 12,000 rupees, and that too competing with each other. That's a ground reality.
Thank you very much. Professor Arun Kumar, the question that I wanted to ask you is this. Since Mr. Ghosh has gone back to numbers, since Mr. Ghosh has gone back to numbers, tell us this: if the GDP increases by 1%, or if the IIP increases by 1%, how much longer does it take to, actually translate into jobs on ground? If bank credit to industry increases, which means industry is investing in new processes, in new plants, how much time does it take to translate into actual jobs on the ground?
Okay, so what we have to appreciate is that there are two parts of the economy. One is called the organized sector, the other is called the unorganized sector. Organized sector uses high technology and is creating very, very few jobs. The unorganized sector uses lower technology and creates many more jobs. But what has happened in our economy is that we are concentrating on the organized sector, putting most of our investment into the organized sector. Very little is going to agriculture. There's very little which is going into the services and the manufacturing in the unorganized sector. And that's the problem. Because where the jobs are, you're not investing. And where there are very few jobs, you're investing bulk of your money. So therefore, what has happened is the job creation in the organized sector is very tardy because of automation, and jobs creation in the unorganized sector is very tardy because you're not investing enough there. Even in agriculture, for instance, there's automation going on. You have more tractors, more harvester combines, more,
No, Professor Kumar, I don't have too much time left. Very quickly tell us this. Very quickly tell us this. If IIP increases and if bank credit to industry increases, how long for those jobs, for people to start getting jobs?
Okay. So what I was telling you is that if this credit goes and if all the investment goes into the organized sector, there will be no jobs. Unless it goes into the unorganized sector, then only the jobs will get created. If it goes into social sector like education and health, then many more jobs will be created. So we have to target our investment right so that it goes into those areas where job creation is there. If you only talk about IIP in the organized sector, there will be really no jobs. IIP, if it rises because of the unorganized sector, there will be jobs. If it goes into social sector like education and health, then the jobs will rise.
Right. So you need targeted investment is what you're saying. Good point over there. Brijesh Kalapa, what do you think the government should do immediately to increase jobs in the economy?
I think the first thing is to accept that there is a problem. Because if you listen to any government spokesperson today, including the one who is now on the show, they seem to say that, look, there is no problem. The first thing is to accept that there is a problem. The problem is, and that problem is accentuated for this reason, that the government on the one hand is completely oblivious to it, and two, they feel very self-content that the steps taken are fully enough for them to take care of the problem. when the Honorable Prime Minister speaks about frying pakoras, and one of the Chief Ministers speaks about selling pan.
Right, Rahul Singh, what do you think the government should do? The one thing that the government can do immediately.
Don't talk about
Rahul Singh.
Honorable Prime Minister talk
Right,
about
do not derail the argument right now. Rahul Singh,
Mudra
immediately,
Yojana,
what can the government do
money have been
to
spent,
ensure more jobs?
which has created employment.
completely.
What can the government do? I have 2 minutes left on the show. I do not want the argument derailed at this point in time. Rahul Singh, what can the government do immediately?
Very quickly, for 5 seconds, let me reply to Professor Asha. I think she was very extreme in her reaction. I was very specific to school education system of the country where teachers do not go to school. Look at the ASA report and you will know what I'm saying, that class 8th student cannot read 5th literature.
Rahul Singh,
now coming back to your question.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, coming back to your question, it is important that we motivate the manufacturing sector and we build a skill in the service sector, realizing that service sector actually has potential. Agriculture and manufacturing is most important and we have to build infrastructure there. So we have to activate infrastructure development process in this country and manufacturing.
Right. Very quickly, both the young students, the job aspirants, what do you think the government should do? One point each. Make it quick, please.
The first thing what the government needs to do is that at least in the formal sector, the 2% jobs which the government has, which it has cut down heavily in the past 4 years, it should open the vacancies, conduct the exams, take. Second, for the rest, it has to direct investment towards agriculture and manufacturing, ensure that the investment goes there, and it has to be government investment, because the private investment is happening in sectors where there are profits without any job creation, because jobs means that they have to pay wages, which the private players do not want to do. They want to cut down on their wage cost.
I'll end with
into agriculture.
Last word goes to Bhaskar Ghosh. Bhaskar Ghosh, the formula is very simple. Is this something that you will consider? Will you at least accept initially that there is a problem, and is this something that you will consider?
Yeah, that's what I have accepted, that there's a hard, this is a very tough task, and we are trying to assimilate all these factors, all this policy decision making process, so that we should increase in creating the opportunities, and the government is taking proper measures in terms of moderating the fiscal policies or maneuvering on the fiscal policies, and the expenditures is on the rise. I can say the expenditure of education, for example, has been 65,000 crore to 79,000 crores. So we are trying our best, developing skills. We are doing Make in India projects.
This
so that
year's union budget had the lowest education expenditure, sir. This is a lie.
You are scrapping UGC, you are stopping funds.
79,868 crores.
Please don't lie.
Bhaskar Ghosh, you're being noisy over there. Bhaskar Ghosh, the point that the panel is making finally is this. No, Bhaskar Ghosh, the point that the panel is making over here today is this. You cannot hide behind numbers anymore. There is a problem, and it is time that everybody accepts that there is a problem. It is time the government, in fact, accepts that there is a problem. Let's put it in language that you can understand. Since you chose to hide behind numbers, how are these numbers to begin with? The 2019 elections are not very far away. In the 2019 elections, you will see 28 crore voters in the 18 to 25 age group. 13 crore of these will be first-time voters. All of these people are job seekers. Now that is a vote bank that you're talking to. 28 crore voters in all. 28 crore votes, which is a sizable portion of the votes that you will need if you want to come back into power. It is time the government wakes up and takes cognizance of the problem and answers it. What you're seeing on your screen is the problem. Numbers cannot hide this reality. It's time you wake up and see this reality. Thank you for watching.